Aunt Ramona had passed away. Honestly, no one in the family thought much of it. She'd lived alone in the city, distant from everyone, holed up in an old, crumbling apartment in a rough neighborhood. No one wanted the chore of clearing out her apartment, but her landlord was pressing for it. Apparently, she'd spent years collecting what amounted to old junk, mostly odds and ends from her two brothers, who'd been vaudeville magicians before they both passed under strange circumstances. She'd inherited all their gear, cluttering her place even more. The family didn't bother doing the cleanup themselves. Instead, they hired movers to haul everything out and ship it back to the farm. It wasn't cheap, but everyone chipped in, hoping maybe some valuable antique might turn up in the mess to justify the cost. Kelsey, Josh, and Emily Peters, Ramona great-nieces and nephew, had never met her. Their parents preferred staying away from the eccentric side of the family. Normally, they didn't visit the farm either, but since school was out for summer, their parents dragged them along, not wanting to leave them home alone. Kelsey was a high school junior. Josh had just started high school. Emily was in 3rd grade. "This place is so boring," Kelsey groaned. Josh couldn't argue. Life on the farm was pretty dull. "We could check out Aunt Ramona's stuff," he suggested. Kelsey rolled her eyes. "It's just a pile of junk." Emily spoke quietly. "I saw magic stuff in that brown shed, like the boxes they saw people in half with." Josh's curiosity lit up. "Come on, Kelsey. Let's go check." With little enthusiasm, Kelsey followed her siblings to the old brown shed. Inside, the musty smell of hay greeted them until Josh found the light switch. Just as Emily said, the place was packed with old vaudeville props. Josh looked around in awe. "This is awesome." Kelsey shrugged again. Emily and Josh began sifting through piles of show gear. "Hey, this box is full of old paperbacks," Josh noted. "Doesn't look like magic stuff." "Probably some other weird family member's junk," Kelsey said flatly. Emily called out, "Here's the box I told you about. Look." It was a battered Chinese-style cabinet, charred on one side as if it had been in a fire. Whatever value it once had was long gone. "Don't mess with that," Kelsey warned. "It could still be worth something." But Emily had already opened it. "It's empty," she said, disappointed. Josh peered inside. "No, there's a couple books in here." He pulled out a paperback titled Portnoy's Complaint and a heavy remedial Spanish textbook. "Guess someone was trying to saw library books in half," Kelsey muttered. Josh thought for a second, then rummaged back through the earlier stack of books. He returned holding an old notebook labeled The Great Persky's Mysterious Box of Metafictional Magic, Instruction Manual. "Think this goes with the box?" he asked. "Doubt you even know what metafictional means," Kelsey said. He ignored her and flipped through the notebook. "Looks like this Persky guy was one of Aunt Ramona magician brothers," Josh said. "Apparently, after the stage act, he started running cons." Kelsey laughed. "Figures." Josh kept reading. "He'd promise people real magic, for a price." "Real magic?" Emily asked, eyes wide. "Supposedly, this box lets you step into a story," Josh said, reading. "Climb in with a book, close the doors, tap 3 times, and you'll be inside the story." Kelsey snorted. "That's ridiculous." "Maybe. Still, could be fun to try." Josh grinned. "Want to have an adventure in a book?" "What is this, a kids' TV show?" Kelsey said sarcastically. "If you're that curious, you get in." "Fine. I will." Josh opened the cabinet and climbed inside, brushing past the cheap rhinestones glued to the interior. "Toss me a book, and tap the doors like it says." Kelsey shrugged and tossed an old paperback at Josh. He caught it and glanced at the cover, Fear of Flying by Erica Jong. Before he could say anything, Kelsey slammed the cabinet doors shut and knocked 3 times, hard. With a loud pop, Josh vanished. He found himself standing in a strange room inside an unfamiliar house. Confused, he touched the back of his neck and felt long, soft hair. Looking down, he was shocked to see a tight black turtleneck stretched over a feminine figure, complete with a long denim skirt and leather boots. He was a woman. A nearby mirror confirmed it. A young woman from the 1970s stared back at him. When he moved, she moved. Every blink and glance was mirrored exactly. While he tried to make sense of the situation, faint music drifted from another room, rising and falling unpredictably. Moving carefully, he stepped into the living room, adjusting to the awkwardness of his new body. There, he saw a scruffy man fiddling with a record player. "How loud can you play Bach in this society?" the man suddenly asked, adjusting the volume wildly. "This loud? This soft? You see? No way to play Bach in this society." Josh felt dread creeping in. Wherever he was, it wasn't somewhere he wanted to stay. "Excuse me, can you tell me who I am?" he asked cautiously. The man ignored him, continuing to obsess over the music. "What's my name?" Josh asked again, slowly. The man paused just long enough to mutter, "Mrs. Isadora Stollerman." Hearing that name didn't help at all. Josh's mind spun. Was he supposed to be this man's wife? While Josh tried to process it, the man abruptly asked, "Who do you think will go to heaven?" Josh hesitated, startled by the sudden attention. Unsure what else to say, he replied softly, "Isadora Stollerman will go to heaven?" "Will Bach go? Milton? Shakespeare? Dante? Homer? Yeats?" The man kept pressing him, voice rising and falling as he rattled off names. Josh backed away, panic starting to build. He felt small and powerless in the woman's body. His voice shook. I don't know." The man kept coming. "Will Rabelais go? Will Villon? Raleigh? Mozart? Mahler? El Greco? Will the light bulbs go?" Josh shook his head frantically. "I said I don't know." "The light bulbs will go to heaven," the man shouted, grabbing Josh by the wrist and dragging him toward the window. "Let's go! Let's go to heaven!" Josh fought to pull free, but he wasn't strong enough. "Christy," he screamed. "Get me out of here!" With another loud pop, the cabinet doors flew open. Josh stumbled out, clutching the paperback, pale and shaking. "Claustrophobic, little brother?" Kelsey asked, raising an eyebrow. "Told you this was a dumb idea." Josh stepped out slowly, still trembling. "It's real. I was somewhere else, and I think it was inside that book." Kelsey looked unimpressed. "Sure you were." "I'm serious." He hesitated, catching his breath. "I want to try again. But with a different book." Emily stared up at him. "You really went inside?" Josh nodded. "Yeah, Beth. It was real." Emily looked worried. "Maybe you shouldn't mess with it. Magic's dangerous. The Girl Scout handbook says it's better to be safe than sorry." Josh laughed. "Safe? Nothing's really safe. Sometimes you have to take risks." "Just be careful," Beth warned softly. "You don't know how this magic works." "I'll be as careful as I can," Josh said with a grin, "but I'm not stopping." "This is stupid," Kelsey snapped. "I'm going back to the house." "Wait! Just one more try. Please?" Josh called after her, holding up a different book, The Brothers Karamazov. "That's a Russian novel, Josh," Kelsey said flatly. "You're not going to get it. It's in English, genius." Josh snapped. "And I'll understand it just fine." Truth was, he'd been assigned the book last semester for English class but never finished it. He found it too complicated. Kelsey's comment had hit a little too close. Still, he hoped experiencing the story directly might help him appreciate it more. It was supposed to be one of the greatest novels ever written. And if he did go to college someday, knowing classics like this might help. Fine. One more time. Get in, Kelsey ordered. Josh didn't waste a second. Clutching the worn paperback, he climbed eagerly into the box. The doors slammed shut, followed by 3 sharp knocks. Then, with another audible pop, he was gone. Josh landed in a new setting, but this time, he was ready. He stood inside a grand, elegant room filled with fancy furniture, decorative tables, oil paintings, and even an aquarium near a window where the sun was setting. In the center of the room stood a young man wearing simple priest's robes. "Hello," Josh said, surprised to hear his own voice come out softly, in Russian, and yet, somehow, he understood every word. Looking down, he saw himself in a delicate pink 19th-century gown, his feet in dainty slippers. Touching the back of his neck, he felt long, dark hair styled neatly. "I've come," the man in robes murmured. A maid silently entered behind Josh, placing 2 lit candles on a nearby table. The man stared at Josh strangely, and Josh realized he was now inhabiting the body of yet another woman. "So, he sent you," Josh said carefully, hoping to sound convincing. He wasn't going to waste this projection. No crazy people, no near-death experiences. This time, he wanted a proper adventure. He gestured gently toward a couch. "Please, sit." The man sat down, hesitating before he spoke again. "He asked me to say goodbye for him. He said he won't be coming back. And he sends his regards." Josh sat back silently, his hands nervously fiddling with a doily. "I see," he said quietly. Apparently, he was playing the role of someone being broken up with, secondhand. Oddly, it stung more than it should. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes, though he reminded himself, this wasn't real. This wasn't him. He said, "He's disgraced. He doesn't care about anything anymore," the man added. "He hopes you'll understand." "Of course," Josh mumbled, staring at the ornate rug. He turned his foot in slow circles, struggling to hold back tears. He didn't know why, but the words hurt. They hurt deeply. The man looked ready to speak again. Suddenly, there was a loud pop, and the cabinet doors creaked open once more. "I'm done with this," Kelsey announced. "If you want to keep playing with that box, go ahead. I'm going inside to see what channels we can get out here." With that, she spun around and walked out of the shed. "I should probably go too," Emily said quietly. "Just be careful with magic. If you mess it up, it can go bad." Josh chuckled. "Did you get that from your Girl Scout handbook too?" Emily nodded seriously. "The handbook says always look before you leap. Maybe you should read it sometime." She pulled the worn little guide from her pocket and held it up. "Maybe you should climb into this and learn something." She skipped off, leaving Josh alone, contemplating how a magician could manage without an assistant. Sitting down on the edge of the box, he absent-mindedly flipped through Emily's handbook. Lost in thought, he didn't notice the small dormouse creeping across the floor until it nibbled his toe. Startled, he jerked back and toppled straight into the box. The lid slammed shut behind him. Another loud pop followed. Josh now found himself standing on a porch outside a door. The spring air felt chilly until he looked down and realized why. He was dressed in a short green skirt, long Girl Scout socks, and tiny buckled shoes. A striped blouse and green sash completed the look, and his hair was pulled into neat pigtails. In his hands was a box of mint cookies. Catching his reflection in the door's glass, he saw a freckled girl, around 9 years old, staring back at him in shock. The door opened, and a kindly older woman smiled warmly. "Oh, thank you, dear. My cookies arrived." Before Josh could react, the box of cookies disappeared from his hands, only to be instantly replaced by another. Again and again, he found himself stuck in an endless loop, visiting door after door, delivering cookies without end. Back at the farmhouse, Mrs. Peters looked up from her work. "Girls, where's Josh?" Kelsey shrugged. "Last I saw, he was playing around with all that junk in the brown shed." "That was hours ago." "Oh, he's not there anymore," Mrs. Peters replied calmly. "A man came by not long ago and bought everything in that shed. He said he used to work with your great-uncle Persky, and Aunt Ramona never let him buy any of the old stage gear. But he paid me $2,500 for all of it, so I sold it." Kelsey blinked. "Sold it? To who?" "Strange little man," Mrs. Peters said thoughtfully. "Looked like he was wearing a bathrobe. Don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content."